Uh, yeah, I was also about talking about cakes, but I think we have too much cake, so maybe it will be a little bit boring. But I think chemistry is about cakes, and if you don't understand something, it's because my Spanish accent. It's not because I don't know what I'm talking about. I know a lot about concrete. And yes, I'm going to talk about concrete, the building materials. I know it sounds boring, but it's actually awesome. And there is a lot of people that I work with it. Hi, Benjamin. And there is a difference between concrete and cement, and people always tell me, look at that cement floor. It's not the same. It's just not the same. And we need to make it clear because even in DTU there is confusion, and that's a little bit fucked up. You know, concrete is also a cake. Let's say chocolate cake, but we can go it faster because we already talked about cakes. You know, we have water and cement to make concrete, and imagine that the water is the egg, and the butter and the cement is the flour. And then the flour is the important ingredient, and we will keep talking about that. And then we also need stones, a lot of stones, because it's cheap and it's for free. So we can just take it, and it can be taken from everywhere you want. And let's imagine that they are almonds. Yeah, they are quite the same. Yeah, just don't eat stones, right? And then you have sand, which can be cacao powder or cocoa powder, whatever. And then you can mix it in these concrete trucks, if you are at 7 in the morning waiting for the fucking 150S, and there is always this truck turning around, that's concrete. And concrete is made everywhere, also in the building that you are living in. But we can also make small samples, like with the thing we make cakes. So then that's like, for example, a cake we do in the lab, and we also put the plastic film and everything, so it's quite the same. But we always need to check that after 24 hours it's hardened, and then you can use your cat to do that. It's actually an experiment with concrete with a guy who had a cat. But, I know that maybe animal rights will not agree with this, but yeah, we need to take care that the concrete is hard enough to be put in the buildings. Otherwise, it will be a little bit dangerous. But then this is like you get, and that's what I'm working with, buildings. And then they actually look like cakes, so it's fair enough to make the comparison. And concrete cakes, which is like the sample of a building. But then I'm actually working with the flour because it's a problem. And, we, as a researcher, we need to get paid to solve problems. So that's our argument, to get a salary. So then it's made of a lot of nice rocks, which are heating to 1,450 degrees. Then you get like something like that, and you combine it with something like that, and then you get this cement. And there is actually a brand called rugby cement. I play rugby, that's why I put it, because it's nice. And then you get these nice crystals, and one of them is also can be like my name, Janita, but not them, but other one. Doesn't matter. The thing is, like, we have an environmental problem, and the environmental people are also in the construction people and always complain, why are you working with concrete? And if I don't do it, who is going to do it, right? Someone has to do the dirty work. So the cement is a problem because it's in high temperatures, and we release a lot of CO2, and we don't like the CO2. The concrete also don't like the CO2, and we will talk about that later. So that's why I'm getting paid. I'm an expensive construction worker who works with concrete, tries to solve this problem. So we want to get the temperature down, so then less CO2, and everybody's happy, and we don't need to work with wood. So we are dying because of concrete. It's polluting the planet, but not the cigarettes, not other things. It's just the concrete. So what I'm doing right now is just working with different materials. Bio or something will always give money. FutureSem is actually a brand that is made in Denmark. So I'm working with that. It sounds very nice. And you will get money if you work with us. So that's what I'm doing. And, I'm working with new types of flour. And, of course, we need to know the performance because there is a problem. Even if you need a lot of CO2 or you release a lot of CO2 to make concrete, actually, concrete doesn't like CO2 or salt. Like, if you put too much salt in a cake, it's also not good. So maybe it makes sense. So imagine like the chlorides and the CO2 is like the Voldemort and concrete is like the Harry Potter, and they have these fights every time. So, but the problem is like all the buildings will have metals, and metals don't like salt and don't like CO2, and that's why I'm getting paid. It's just like to see, okay, what's the problem? Why is concrete always falling apart? So It's because concrete is actually a living material, and I know that organic people will not agree with me, but indeed, concrete needs water, and it's always doing these crystals. Sorry. You know, I didn't practice this, so I will always make a fucking mistake. Anyway, they make these crystals. It's a living material, and I'm trying to just avoid getting salt. But we have salt everywhere. In Denmark, when it's winter, you have salt in the roads. You have your bike always with salt, and that's why it's dying. So salt, sea everywhere. So I will always have a job. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just trying to avoid the salt in the concrete, trying to find a way to avoid the CO2 in the concrete, even if when we do concrete, we need to release CO2. It's just like these kind of cycles that they will never end. So that's why the concrete people, we will always have a job. Doesn't matter. So what I'm doing is just checking microstructure, doing these fancy things, so making my cat looking literature for me, making X-ray diffraction, microscopy, this sounds so fancy, but, at the end, we still don't know what is going on. Even NMR, that thing there, I did a lot of NMR, and I had to explain what was going on. It went well because I got the PhD, but I didn't really came with a conclusion in that. It's just like, you always are going to say, yeah, if I were having more time, COVID, always finding excuses, but we did it. So what we do is we cast concrete that is like cakes. We put them in freezers because concrete doesn't like too high temperatures or too low temperatures, too much salt, little salt. Concrete is like this annoying Mexican mom who will always get annoyed about something. Sorry, mom, if you're seeing this, but it's just like that. No matter what you do, it will be always a problem. So that's what we are doing. We are torturing concrete all the time just to see how it's going to crack. Too much cracks, little cracks, spider cracks, cracks with direction. That's what we are doing all the time, and we are measuring and say, this is important. This is a problem, charging a lot of money just for torturing concrete, a living material. And then we are doing this 3D printing, trying to 3D print concrete, because it's low CO2 stuff. So imagine a toothpaste. If you don't have anything to do when you're hungover or something, just put in toothpaste, then another layer, then another layer, then another layer. And then we are trying to that these layers is not falling down. So that's what we are doing. The 3D printing machine is just doing the same, just with concrete, of course. But it's actually this in Copenhagen, so you can go on Nordhavn and see, we have the first 3D printing house in Copenhagen, first technology. And then sometimes I have home office, and I also have my own concrete machine with cement, and then, if you see my desk, it's a mess, but again, I'm a construction worker with a paper who says that I'm doing research. And the concrete society, it's an amazing thing. We don't, because I'm not a Dane, of course, look at me. But the Danes, they have a concrete book song, of course in Danish. And I know this presentation is in English, but they have 37 songs of concrete, describing every problem with concrete. So I know it's a boring material, but the people who are making concrete are not fucking boring, I promise you. Even the old people, the young people, whatever people who works with concrete, it's always nice. And this book is in IDA, so if you're a member of IDA, this union, you can find it, and it's for free. And after this presentation, you will never make the mistake. The cement is like the powder, is the flour, the concrete is where you live in. This was in DTU, and I put that thing, it's concrete floor, not cement floor. So this will never happen again. My friends, tack for the day. Okay,
Give it up.